Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Ben Harbor. This is Monday, May 23rd, 2022. And we're on for another Monday of Chat with the Chief. I am Director Dan McGinnis, the Director of Public Safety for the City of Benton Harbor. We are here with you every Monday, 9 o'clock. The stream is live. Streams to our Benton Harbor Department of Public Safety Facebook page. It also streams to the City of Benton Harbor YouTube site. That's the City of Benton Harbor if you search that. So we're here every Monday. We started this back on April 4th. Idea that was done by previous chief. That was a pretty good idea. Then it was on radio at that time, but now things have changed and come quite a distance as far as technology. So we're here. So today I'm here by myself. We had Pastor McAfee is celebrating his 29th anniversary, so he was off smoozing and moozing with First Lady, his wife, Sister McAfee. So he still might be recovering. Thank God for him. And 29 years of marriage is fantastic, especially in these days and times. So, of course, the previous 2 weeks before this, we had a young brother on, Shaquille Turner, who really had a good testimony as far as where he's been, what he's been through, served some prison time, and has since come out and has been very successful. So that's what we've had the last couple of weeks here on Chat with the Chief. So I'm going to talk about something today that's important to us, the City of Benton Harbor, and I've made some mention on here on a couple of shows about the relationship with the courts and particularly a couple of judges there that apparently didn't sit too well. So we're going to dive into that. So today we're going to be talking about what I affectionately term as the Judicial God Complex. The Judicial God Complex. And what that is, and this is for anyone who's ever been in court and seen how judges interact with people, be it defendants, be it lawyers, be it officers. Well, again, this is my term, but with just like in medicine, they have what's called the God complex. When doctors kind of get so full of themselves, they think they're like God. Well, judges, in my mind, do the exact same thing. There's been some judges and magistrates through the years that have been just absolutely just untenable on the bench. It's like they get to the bench, and then after some time, and let me say this, we got some really good judges. Got some really good judges that I know personally, judges that if I call, I can get them, or if they need something, I know it's right now. A couple of my favorite judges is Judge Pasula. She's wonderful. She's had a terrific career. She's always been fair. Of course, Judge Cotter, worked with him before when he was a prosecutor. I think he's a stand-up guy. Of course, Judge Smith, she's wonderful. And I used to like Judge Bruce. So we got some good people over there. I don't know some of the new ones. Again, I've been kind of in administration for a minute, so I don't know some of the new ones, some of those that have been elected. But I do know, of course, with Sterling Schrock. Notice I didn't mention him as one of the good ones. Also, even going back to Judge Hammond, just horrible how he talked to people. Everybody, it wasn't just the defendants, it was everybody. And I don't know if it's a matter of they get up there and they, because of a long career, maybe a 30 or 40-year career in law, or maybe 20 years on the bench, they just get bitter, angry, and mean. But it goes out to everybody. So I'm going to be talking about that in specific, why I say that the court has not had, I'm going to give you specific examples of Benton Harbor's best interest at heart. I think that there is a systemic issue in all of Berrien County, and the court epitomizes that very thing. So those out there that are listening now, those that will listen when this is when they click on it to look at live on demand, is that I probably would say out of the people that have gone to court, even for probably even just modest um, traffic tickets, just kind of how people are kind of treated and herded through like cattle going to slaughter is, I've seen this, not, I'm part of the system. I mean, it's be not fooled. I realize as an officer, I'm part of the criminal justice system, but I just some things that I've observed over the years, especially here in Berrien County, and that's my concern. That's my bailiwick is what's going on here in Berrien has been been very interesting. So again, even traffic tickets. We had a magistrate. He's gone now, thank God. Probably the meanest, most evilest person that could be working over there. So we're going to kind of talk about that process. And I get that it's not easy. It's a great honor to be a lawyer, to be a prosecutor, to get selected as a judge. I've got to have great respect for them. I think what happens in the God complex is that they forget that it's people that they work with, work compatriots with, colleagues that help get them to where they are. And then they get to a point where they get elevated. And now all of a sudden it's like, here we are, we're top of the mountain, I guess, literally. So I've seen that all through Berrien County Courthouse. One thing I will say is we've always had a good relationship with the prosecutor's office. I think we've had good prosecutors, especially love Steve Perangeli. That's a man who cares about the community, but he cares about all of Berrien County. I can't say there's been a social event that he has not been to over here in Benton Harbor or Benton Township. I do know for a fact he's up at night racking his brain on what he can do in his office can do to help kind of stay some of the violence that's in the 49022. Again, he's very supportive, and he's been to meetings that he didn't have to come to. He gets out of his office, he comes over, and he just meets with people. You can get him at 3:00 in the morning or 3:00 in the afternoon. So really speak highly of him. He's got some good people in his office. His support staff is really good. One of the problems, and I'll start here, at the courthouse, there seems to be a disconnect of like departments. So, for example, what I mean by that is, so here's how. Let's take a ticket, for example, or say somebody gets a ticket for a suspended license, misdemeanor. So, police officer might make a traffic stop, make contact with that driver, come through some small investigation that the driver's license might be suspended. Uh, it gets him out, issues him a citation for maybe driving on a suspended license, gives him a court date for Benton Harbor. We appear on Tuesdays, so we give the third Tuesday in whatever month this is. So then the report is written up. The citation now, it used to be written by hand, but now it goes electronically directly to the courthouse. I'll get to that in a second. Directly to the courthouse. It's boom, boom, directly. So the officer comes back and writes a report, fills out the paperwork and the associated forms. We send it over to the court. Now we send it electronically. So that stuff gets scanned in, gets sent over, and they have it immediately at the prosecutor's office. They go in there and open up their digital file or their digital folder, get those cases that were sent. And this is through all the agencies in the county. Get the information that's sent, get those printed off, get them to the prosecutors. They do what they do. And then it goes downstairs to what's called the police counter. So you have the prosecutor's office on the second floor, the police counter is on the first floor. That is the place you go to when you have a ticket or you're trying to appear. The people may or may not be cordial to you. Generally, it's probably like 40, 60. And I do understand, and I think one of the things I think that the court doesn't understand is the criminal justice system is very, very overwhelming and confusing, especially for somebody who is in it for the first time. I think sometimes people will end up getting warrants for fail to appear because they may not quite understand the process. I've always kind of thought that has kind of been my input I've gotten from people who like get a warrant for failure to appear, and they're like, well, I thought when I paid the bond, I was done. I get it. You would say, okay, the bond is different, but somebody does not know. Again, maybe it's their first ticket or their first arrest. So a lot of times people are coming there and they have questions and they just kind of get shuttled off. So paperwork comes downstairs. The police counter, when I was doing court work, upstairs and downstairs, like, do not talk. Although they are integral and must work together, because paperwork starts here and it gets finished here, do not talk to each other. So we talk about, again, my only concern is how is Benton Harbor City treated. So throughout the years I've been here, and I've been here for 24 years, is that whenever there's an issue, it's automatically Ben Harbor's problem. It's automatically their fault. You didn't get the paperwork here. You didn't get the ticket here. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Blah, 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 blah. It's been my experience, and I probably can speak for every court officer before me and court officer after me. When we get up to the court from these nasty calls that come over from the police counter, and I don't know if this young lady is still there, but she was just mean unnecessarily. I mean, this is behind closed doors when we're supposed to be colleagues, compatriots, just treated really, really, really crappily. Again, I won't mention Sue's name, but just treated poorly. So what we will find when we come over there is that a file would be done, or maybe when the files came downstairs, maybe one prosecutor took a little bit longer to review it, or maybe was researching another charge that they may or may not add. So it would not have been on that pile when it went down. So the files go downstairs of new cases, goes to police counter, they do their thing. That has to be clerked, and ultimately there's a court officer, a live person has to go over and sign. It's usually an officer from one of the departments that has submitted for the charges. So if there's a file that's not there, the police counter automatically, Ben Arbor didn't send a paper over. And we're getting nasty phone calls, we're getting nasty emails. And I'd have Deputy Director Clark on, but he's busy dealing with the events of the weekend. He can speak to this. Probably anyone, detectives that do court work, can speak to this. And I really believe it's not just us. It's probably also Benton Township. But automatically, you didn't do this. You didn't do that. This not here. That's not here. Well, like 9 times out of 10, it would just be upstairs. And we go upstairs, bring the file down, give it to this very angry person, and they would just take it. And in my years working at the court and doing court work and having to endure those fits of fancy, either from them or Magistrate Steve Doak, who was the epitome of mean, angry, and disrespectful over there. When we would give them the file that would be upstairs of their building, all they would have to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, so-and-so, is this file up there? They would say, yes, it is. Then they'd say, can you send it down? They would say, yes, we would, but they wouldn't communicate. It'd be like this. So instead of calling upstairs, they get one of our numbers. Again, whoever does court work, there's an officer that goes over every day for each department to take care of court work for the day. Instead of calling upstairs and say, hey, this file, do you have it? It's automatically called Ben Harbor court officer and just berate us. You got your stuff here on time. You're always doing this. Get the paperwork here. So we would come over, we'll walk upstairs, grab the file, walk it downstairs, and sign for it. It's literally that simple. That has gone on for years. I've experienced it. Deputy Director Clark has experienced it. Other officers here that have done court work have experienced that. And when they find that it's a simple solution, or it was upstairs and all they do is call, there had never been a time, and maybe the other court officers that work for Ben Harbor have experienced this, but there's never been a time where the person would say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was upstairs, or thank you for bringing it down. Never, 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 never. 100% of the time, when we endure these beratings and this disrespect, when we prove them that they were wrong, was never an apology. So now here we have, I told you I'd get back to this. We have now tickets go over electronically. So they are automatically there at the court, automatically. So lo and behold, would you think that because now through technology, that the information, it goes directly over to the court where it's supposed to be, that we wouldn't have any issue with them calling Ben Harbor and berating us and saying we didn't get our information in. No, has not changed. So again, all they have to do is click a button, go to a file, whatever, however that works, and see where that the ticket is there. Maybe the file's upstairs, but we still go through this. And again, there's never an apology. There's never a learn from experience. Hey, we jumped the gun and misjudged them, so we're going to take it. It's nothing like that. So that is the thing that we deal with. That's one of the things for the court. That's not necessarily the Judicial God Complex. I'm getting to that we deal with over there. And I'll say this, we are a predominantly Black community. We have officers. We have a number of white officers, but my officers, the white officers, have come back from the court and have said, and this is more than one of them, that we get treated unfairly and negatively over there by the court. These are officers saying this. They see it, and not just directed towards our citizens, but directed towards us as officers. There just seems to be a disrespect in the county when it comes to any aspect of Ben Harbor. I'm not even just talking about police work. So yeah, I'm saying some things that need to be said. This won't be popular, but it is what it is. And I challenge anybody to come and give me an antithetical position and tell me I'm wrong, that these experiences that I've had, I can probably get 4 more people here out of the hallway that have had the same experiences with the fact that we just get treated a different way. It's almost like that saying, the bastard stepchild is how we are treated. And what makes that kind of, I can't say frustrating, because it is what it is. It's one of those things where with institutionality, you just kind of accept it because it is what it is. This mindset, this anti-Ben Harbor mindset, is institutionalized within the Barron County Court system. It is. Now, mind you, notice I'm not saying racism. It's another conversation. I'm talking about the institutionalization, the processes that exist. For one, it needs to be probably modernized and updated, because I think the court system is one of those examples of we always do what we've always done. Regardless if it's efficient or not, we just do it. So, and I'm curious to see if there's anybody that's listening that has had a negative experience in the courthouse. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and people from Ben Harbor now go over there and it's all about roses and carnations and smells wonderful. But these are observations from my own personal through the years, as well as things from my officers. And of course, you can submit your chat via. Remember, today I'm a one-man show, so read some of these. This is a young lady said she had a case that she hadn't heard anything back on. Curious about that, learn about that. So again, we're be patient with me today. It's just me. I don't have somebody that I can pass off and have them say a couple words, and then we move on. I'll read the chat. So anyway, if anybody's out there that had an experience there, I'd love to hear it. Or maybe you had a wonderful time and you're treated like you were, sugars and cinnamon, and it was wonderful. I'm definitely interested to hear that. So anyway, so moving on, that how it has been, it continues to now, even with things like subpoena service. When the case goes forth, when the arrest is made, there's a certain process. A court date is set. There's a preliminary examination of the arraignment first. Then there'll be a preliminary examination, and then for that we get subpoenas for the prelims or for jury trials motions. They come over, and we're supposed to get like 48 hours to get those, try to serve them. But here's where we start to get into our God complex, judicial God complex. Although there's a system and a time frame that's allowable and is a courtesy to not just the department or the officer serving a subpoena, but to the witnesses or victim who also may need to change a schedule, get a day off to go to court. We repeatedly, all the time, even up until Friday, ironically, will get last minute subpoenas. Again, they make it our fault. They send over Friday, for example. Again, this happens all the time. After 4 o'clock on Friday, they send over. On Thursday, 4 o'clock on Thursday. Send over subpoena. We need this officer at court at this time. Here's a subpoena that's had him served. For the next day at 1:15. Well, how do you expect somebody to successfully get those, find the person, serve them, and you have given them less than 24 hours, a little less, 48 hours? So we get that all the time. And officers have to be there, and they have to make attempts to try to serve these subpoenas. So then we go and tell, if we do get the person, hey, you got court tomorrow. Well, wait a minute. This person may have a job, they might have an interview, they might be unavailable. They can't just up and change, say they get this after 5 o'clock, and you got to be in court tomorrow at 1:15. It's just disrespectful. And it happens all the time. All the time. Again, even up until Friday. And we have situations where we have officers trying to serve last minute subpoenas. Again, the court never says, hey, I'm sorry, hey, something came up. We still have to this day, and I know maybe Clark can chime in via chat, what explanation they've given us on why we have so many last minute, we need them in here tomorrow subpoenas, when it's a court case. The court case has been in the system. Either dates attached to these appearances. Why all of a sudden does it become last minute to get this person into court? Even if it was a motion that was filed, that still has to be set according to the judge's calendar. Why is it? It's always at least for us, I can't speak to other agencies, it becomes a state of emergency, given ample time to be able to serve subpoenas successfully is not always the case. And the subpoenas come from the prosecutor's office. But these ones I'm talking about, the court might say, hey, we need this like tomorrow. And now they got to scurry and do the best that they can. So it's just part of the system is kind of retarded, kind of broken, kind of what we deal with. And here's one of the comment here from our young budding brother Turner. Most of our resident has an issue over in St. Joe, even in the courtroom. African Americans and other races, we are not treated the same. Let me see. So it's another comment says it's a "I got you" moment to make BH look bad. It's about dollars and control power. That could be true. That could be true. So, let me get into now where I have my issue. Again, the things I've outlaid. That's just kind of the framework, the groundwork. It is kind of what it is. We deal with it. Again, we're used to them not respecting us or saying I'm sorry when the mistake is clearly theirs. Not one time ever. I'm telling you, 100% of the time, out of every court officer that's ever worked over there, at no time ever have they said I'm sorry when 80% of the time the mistake is on them. Now there are times that we have made mistakes, didn't have stuff signed, maybe the PC sheet didn't match up with the whatever. Yeah, it's not all just point the finger at the court. But what I'm saying is, I'm sure other people that went over and dealt with it, like Diane Lewis here. Mr. Lewis says, if you want a different court system, stop electing the same wolves in sheep's clothing every election cycle. Well, there is a conversation there, Mr. Lane. Corey Kaiser, hey, thank you. What you're doing is good. I tell you, I'm not influencing friends and winning over enemies. That's for sure. So forgive me again if I missed some of the comments here. I'm a kind of one-man show here today, but there's some things I think that have to be said. So moving on forward. Again, I'm still curious. If you're on here, shoot into the comments. Your experience, what you observed. I really wish we had Brother Pastor McAfee on here because he's in the court consistently. But if you've seen or observed how people are talked to and treated, especially do you notice differences between races? I'm curious to hear that. Maybe McGinnis, maybe Ben Harbor's out on an island and it's just our far-reaching, not even close perception of what's going on. All right. So that being said, let me move into why I have some serious issue with the judges over there. And unfortunately, they get kind of roped into a collective when it's really just two that I try to deal with. So just give you a little history. 2019, and the reason I bring this up is I'm not even gonna name them. Somebody texted me how they got my numbers beyond me. Never called me before ever. Never even knew they had my number. I don't have their number. And the question was, why do we say, and again, I'm speaking generally, why do I say that the court does not have Ben Harbor's best interest in mind? Well, I'm about to tell you why. So, in every community, all right, so our country is a democracy. Every community is autonomous. Of course, you have home rule cities. So, every community has different issues and different things of relevancy and importance to that community. So, for example, a shooting in Ben Harbor is not the same issue that they might have in a New Buffalo or in a Niles Township. I don't know about South County, or a Grand Beach. Totally different issues. What might be an issue is like, say, I hear there's an issue with short-term rentals in New Buffalo. Is not an area of interest that's in Ben Harbor. There what might be issues as far as farm equipment in Stevensville would not have the same interest as Benton Heights, for example. So every community is different. Every community has its own challenges, and every community has those things, especially from a law enforcement perspective, that are priorities. And one thing we do here in Benton Harbor, every year when we set what we call the summer priorities, we get input from citizens, and we get input from our commission via our public safety committee, as well as I make phone calls and talk to the commissioners every year to make sure that we are hitting the things that are important to them and their constituents. One of the issues that we have in Ben Harbor that has been and continues to be a huge issue is illegal dumping. Illegal dumping is huge in Benton Harbor. And I'm going to give you kind of the magnitude of some of the dumping that we have here in the city that has gone on and continues to go on even to this day. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I want to show you here that, hold on, let me go back. So not only do we have illegal dumping in the city of Benton Harbor, we have the dumping of tires, which is an entirely different issue when it comes to remediation or cleaning it up. Very, very, very difficult issue. This is, I would dare to say, outside of course, the gun violence that we've experienced, the uptick, of course, has been across the country. I would probably say the number two issue is illegal dumping in the city. And we have people that dump, for example, here, I'm going to show you a series of pictures of dumping sites in the city. And this is from 2019. So here we have some tires here. Here is a place where they've dumped on a vacant lot. You can see that. An alley where some tires and trash are dumped. Also, Ben Harbor residents, if those are on here, if you have areas in your neighborhood that are issues, please send it to me in the comments. I'll get it in chat. I'll make sure we'll add that to our list for cleanup and enforcement through our code compliance department. So please, for Ben Harbor residents. So here's an alley. Again, tires. Here's a separate section, and you might say that's the same tire. It's not. This is a totally another part of the city where you can see tires just thrown out in mass. Here's the back of a ravine. I want to say this is off Territorial, just dumping trash down a ravine. Here's somebody who was dumping tires inside of one of our parks, Hall Park, and apparently thought it was cute to make a little donut on top. More tires. Again, I haven't taken these tires and packed them up, moved them to different locations. These are tires that are all over the city, all over the city. So here's a mattress being dumped. One thing we see around tax time is when we see furniture being dumped, mattresses, couches, dressers. Tax time calls for new furniture. So we see that. So here's an issue. Here's a part. This is over, I think, on the Pasadena. Here is over on the north side, again, down a different part of the ravine. See couches, other trash there. Close up of that. Here is, yet again, a different part of the city. Again, there is a broken out dresser. Here you see in the background here, there's a sofa and some carpet. These are landlord set outs, or landlords when they change residents. When they clean or take up the carpet, they'll find a spot in Ben Harbor and dump. Here's another close-up of that thing. Again, you can tell that's carpet, and that's carpet padding. So that had to have came from some type of rental. Another different area of the city. I can go on and on with this, but you're saying kind of the magnitude. I'm going to get you to here. Here is the ravine that's down off LaSalle, going down into the ravine where the old park used to be. We call this tire heaven. They're probably, and right now this picture was taken late in March, early in April, where the ravine ebbs and flows with water from the season. When water, snow melts, it goes down. So the water here is covering several hundred tires. So what you see is kind of really the cherry on top. It's just kind of the cherry on top. So we have, and again, we don't know who exactly is dumping these tires like this. Again, this is a close-up of the tires being dumped in the city. These, again, you can kind of tell, peeking out, tires that when the water subsides, there's going to be hundreds there in that ravine. Here's another part along LaSalle. Again, tire heaven. Again, another part of the city. Oh, raggedy, ugly chair. That chair probably should have been dumped. It's horrible. That color, whoever picked that out. So here's an alley. Here's again, random alley in Ben Harbor. Matter of fact, I want to say this is over on Jennings, 1200 block maybe. So again, we can surmise that this is a landlord set out or a landlord, cleanup of. We got carpet here. We have the padding of the carpet. We got some type of broken cabinet here. They just pull up and dump those in the alleys in Ben Harbor. Again, here's an alley. I want to say this is behind Broadway, between Broadway and Pavone in the 600 or 700 block. Again, we see a mattress here. We see a old raggedy sofa. So these are the issues that the citizens of Benton Harbor are dealing with. Again, these are all different sites here. This somebody with some kids took their stuff and dumped it out. May have been them moving, may have been a landlord, but they find a spot in Benton Harbor and they take it and they dump it. Another different section of the city. Again, sofas, TVs, mattresses. Here is behind an abandoned building. So at first glance, you would say, oh, maybe they're renovating that's coming from inside. That's not. Somebody doing some contractor's work had pulled up on the side of this house and had been dumping at least, a handful of times. These are different stages of aging, wearing of the elements of the dumping. So that's outside of a house. Again, here's another area where they've dumped sofas in the alley. Different picture of the same location. Tires. Again, we are in an alley. Matter of fact, this is an alley in Columbus. You got Columbus is here. Tires and whatever else that junk is. It is a huge problem. Here's a garage, a broken down garage that they're using as dumping. This is on Clay Street. This is Clay and Broadway, I believe. Here's a house on Broadway that is empty, and people start dumping their trash inside of the building. Here's a close-up of that. Dumping, 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 dumping. So if you have not picked up now, we have an issue with dumping in the city. And Mr. Lewis says, here, could you guys place game trail cameras around the ravines to catch the dumpers? Yes, sir. I'm getting to that. That's a great question. Who's this here? This is Sister Bonnie. Hey, Sister Bonnie. Actually, I saw you in Myers yesterday, but you didn't see me. How you doing? So Benton Harbor has basically become a dumping ground. Absolutely. And here's the thing. The people that we've caught are not even from the city. People are coming in town. So it goes back to my overall my theory, if you will, my premise, that there is a disrespect for Benton Harbor that's institutional and systemic in all of Berrien County. It's not just isolated to one particular entity. So people that we have caught don't even live in the city. Some do, but don't live in the city. And that's a huge problem. So one of the things here, my people said, Chief, we need to get a hold of this dumping thing. We need to catch some people. We need to make an example of it. My commission stood behind it 100%. Our public safety committee backed us. So what we did was start to put together some strategies. There are also some pictures this same year. So every year Berrien County has a grant to for communities to come together. I think it's about 6 or 7 to scrap tires. If we get tires to a location, or citizens have tires they want to get rid of, they bring it to a location in a jurisdiction, put them on a trailer, off they go. It's free to them. It's free to the municipality because it's a grant that's come down from the state of Michigan, and we've done it. The first time that we did the tire cleanup in Benton Harbor, we plan to do it. Actually, we did do it twice. The first day, and also let me say this: the tire pickup, unlike water, you have to prove that you live in the city of Benton Harbor or that you have property in the city of Benton Harbor. So we were checking addresses, we were writing down names, and of course the count of tires. For our first tire pickup, we were open for about 10 hours. And Commissioner Edwards, actually, he wasn't elected then, but then soon to be Commissioner Edwards helped me. And I personally worked the whole day slinging tires onto this truck. Our first day of collecting tires in the city, and we only did it on the south side. I'm sorry, the north side up into, we didn't even cross Britain. And we collected, the city of Benton Harbor collected 1,700 tires. Let me say that again. There were 1,700 tires that were collected in the city of Benton Harbor from Wakanda to Britain. And that does not include tire heaven, because by the time we did it, the brush came. You got to get down there early when there's no leaves on the trees, or it's impossible to see. 1,700 tires. That's crazy. I think the second time we did it, we did it for less time, and we still had 800 or 900 tires. So over the course of 2 tire cleanups, we ended up getting over 2,300 tires. It's unconscionable. So to Mr. Lane's point, what we did was we went out. Thanks, Sister Bonnie. We're gonna try it. Keep up the good work. We went out and we did buy some pole cams, some trail cams, and if you recall, in the newspaper, it was publicized. We declared a war on illegal dumping, and we publicized it. We made it very known that we were going to try to find you. So what we did, we went out and we purchased some of those trail cameras that you mentioned. We got I think 4 or 6 of them. And we placed them in different locations where dumping had been done. And we actually, in 2019, we made 30 arrests. And I think probably half of those were off those cameras, because those cameras actually work really well. There's only about a 9-second delay from the time they hit the camera to it gets sent to our phone. So every camera has its own, like your cell phone has a card that connects it to the network, via Verizon or Singular or whatever. Our cards, our cameras were connected with cards to the network. So whenever there would be something that would trip the alert, we get an image sent to us. And again, it's about 9 seconds. So we had it between myself and then now Chief Code Compliance Officer Bruce handles that. I think some of our cameras have been stolen. I think they got wires to them. But we caught several people. I myself wrote 3 tickets at least, made 3 arrests of dumpers that we caught in progress. So that does work. So with that being said, what we also did is we contacted Eagle, and we told them about our issue. They actually sent an investigator down to the city of Ben Harbor. I can't remember the young lady's name. She's very helpful. And she actually got in the car with myself and at that time, Mr. Bruce, and drove around the city. We showed her these dump sites. We showed her, the tires, different areas. There's some things that she even observed. Very helpful. She had given us some information as far as how we can charge certain charges of dumpers through the state. There are different laws that govern tires, what you can haul, what you can't haul, the number, and gave us quite a bit of very useful information. So from that, we were able to put together a cheat sheet, if you will, for the officers to know, if we come across a dumper, what we can do as far as city ordinance and what we can do as far as state statute. And one thing, let me say this: I know there's improper information out there about profiling, but profiling still was very helpful. And there is a profile of an illegal dumper. And if you think about it, you've all seen them. It's usually a pickup truck or a truck with a trailer, and it's driving around with junk in the back. Usually, they got so bold now they do it in the afternoon, but usually it's after 5 and they think that code compliance is out. And when you see those, that is the profile of a dumper. So here's another thing: you can only haul so many tires without a permit. I think a person can legally only haul 6 tires at a time. If they have more than that, they have to have a specific permit given by Eagle to be a tire hauling truck or company. So if you see a truck driving around with tires, driving around on Brunson, driving in alleys between Pavone and Broadway, and guess what? That's the profile of a dumper. It is what it is. So Brother Shaquille said the unmarked vehicle to catch whomever. Yeah, I was in mine. That's how I caught some of mine. So that's the profile of illegal dumper. All right. So then what we came up with, talking to the state investigator, who was very helpful, had given us some things that we could use to cite illegal dumpers. And some of the charges that they had more teeth in them than some of our local ordinances. So, for example, there's littering on property on water prohibited, disposable solid waste. That would be a misdemeanor dumping that might be a little bit more stiff than the local ordinance. Here's delivery of waste, meaning you have to have certain permits to be able to drive around discarded materials. Here's the delivery of scrap tires. Here's what I was saying, that a person has to be registered in order to be a registered collection site, and also to transport them, they have to be a registered transporter through the state. Tire hauler, vehicle hauling scrap tires. So here for our city ordinances, you see we have littering, the basic littering on private property, owner to maintain premise free of litter. And then down here, you'll see Part 89. It speaks to the state statute for littering. Part 115 is solid waste. Part 169 is scrap tires. So, for example, if I would open one of these up, you get this long, very dry reading So we did quite a bit of work, quite a bit of research into this deal. Again, we called the state came down. Um, the last thing that when the lady left for the day, she told us, she says, contact your court and make sure that they have in their system the right codes if you were to use any of these codes in charging any of your dumpers. That was on her advice. And here, I mean, let me get to this if I run out of time. So we were trying to put together a strategy. We identified some locations. We had cameras coming. We made contact with Eagle. And the last thing we needed to do was contact the court to give them a heads up for a couple of things. One, that you might see a proliferation or an increase in tickets from Benton Harbor for illegal dumping. We did a press release. If you Google it, you'll see war on dumping. I was in the paper a couple of times. I was in there for the scrap tire. I was all muddy. So we wanted to make sure we had all our ducks in a row. So the way it works over at the courthouse is they have so every criminal charge has a number to it. It all has numbers, like you see here. For example, 324-8902. So those are statute numbers, and then from there we have what's called LEMS codes and things like that match up to particular crimes that we are issuing citations for or placing somebody under arrest. So she says, well, the average court may not always have these charging codes in their system. So it'd be a good idea to contact your local court and let them know that you're going to be doing some enforcement. Here's some charges, and we just want to make sure that they're in there. So I thought that was a good idea. So after that meeting, I then tried to make contact with the court. I wanted to talk to the chief judge. Well, at that time was Gary Bruce. And, one thing, if you notice, if you go online, at least back then, in 19 at least, you try to find contact for the judges, it's really hard to find. And for good reason. People shouldn't be contacting judges and be able to get to them directly. That makes perfect sense. They are judges. They are supposed to be impartial. And, of course, they don't want to be overran with emails and phone calls from people who are saying that their baby didn't do it. I get all that. So I had contacted the court, and I want to start with the court administrator. Then I wanted to talk to the chief judge. At that time, the chief judge was Gary Bruce. Now, at that time, Judge Bruce and I pretty decent. I never had to deal with him other than there's one time that me and back when I was a lieutenant and Chief Lang was here. Something happened, and the judges called us over there to the court, and they let us have it. They just ran us up and down. I don't remember what it was, but they just blasted us. Me and Chief Lang kind of left with our tail between our legs, and we said we fixed the issue. Whatever it was our fault. We did it, and they weren't happy about it. So I'm thinking, okay, if I can get just a meeting with the chief judge so he can let his staff know if you see these charges from Benton Harbor, I don't know how the assignments fall. They have an issue with dumping. They want to make sure that we have all our charge codes together. It's in our system. Just be aware of it. Now, I do understand that it is incumbent upon either our city attorney or the prosecutor to do things decently and in order and have the case be a good case and present it through that means. So yeah, there's things that we need to do on both sides. So I had got the number of Judge Bruce's assistant, called her. So I'd like to set up a meeting with Judge Bruce. She said, I'll get back to you. And then I get an email from Sterling Schrock, who was not the chief judge. So I was kind of taken aback. For one, anybody knows me, I don't like talking on the phone. I don't call people on the phone a whole lot. I'm also a big believer of back in the day, no news is good news with Gary News. If you don't hear from me, it's all good. But if I call you, it's important. And the other thing that really was a smack in the face is I asked to speak to the chief judge, who I've never asked to speak to before, never been to his chambers. First time I talked to his assistant was this particular time frame. You would think as a sitting chief of one of the largest cities in Berrien County, that if the chief of police asked to speak to the judges or the chief judge, that should be granted. I would assume that. Maybe you would assume something different, but that's not the case. So I was passed off like an underling, or shoot off to Judge Schrock. And I'll read that email. This is dated April 9th, 2019. So we're wondering why exactly I have a problem with the judges of Berrien County. Well, not all of them. I told you the ones I like. I'm simply trying to make sure logistically that when we start to send over arrests for illegal dumping, that you can support, for example, disposal of solid waste in your system, because that's not a common case that would come across a Berrien County court. That's what I would ask to meet for. So I was passed off to an underling. I suspect if Sheriff Bailey would have asked to meet with Judge Bruce, it'd been no problem. If Steve Newbeck would have asked to meet with Judge Bruce, it'd been no problem. I asked to speak with Judge Bruce, the Director of Public Safety for the City of Ben Harbor. I get passed off to an underling without the common courtesy of even an answer directly from him. I thought that was disrespectful. Again, I don't ask for much. You would think that a sitting chief in a high-profile municipality will at least have the courtesy to be allowed audience with the chief judge, especially if the chief never has asked for one. But again, Judicial God Complex, they don't think like that. It's really more about them than anyone else. So then I get this email, Director McGinnis. I will need further clarification before scheduling a meeting to ensure that the result will not be an improper ex parte communication with a party that has a matters pending before the court. I arraigned at least one individual on a case of illegal dumping in the city of Ben Harbor, and so am aware that a case is pending in this court. He had no idea because he never saw the pictures. He goes on to say, whether a case is, and this is him quote, successfully adjudicated is a matter for your city attorney to address. The court will neither guarantee an outcome nor comment on pending litigation or potential outcomes of other cases that may come before it. Discussing, again, here's Sterling's, his quotations, discussing the magnitude of the dumping issue could be interpreted as an effort to influence outcomes. Otherwise, the impact of a violation is properly an issue addressed by the party prosecuting that violation following a finding by the court of the jury that violation occurred. Before a meeting can be scheduled, we need to know who is participating and that the subject and purpose of the meeting does not violate the principles set above. So first of all, that is absolute crap. It was disrespectful to be shuttled off to an underling. If Judge Bruce would have called here and asked to speak to me, I would have not had a road sergeant send him an email asking for justification to meet with the boss. That in itself was just a disrespect. Again, God complex, because I don't have to deal with the chief of Ben Harbor because I have no interest in that. It's how that came across, Judge Bruce, if you have a problem with that. Then you send me off to Sterling Schrock, who himself is the epitome of the God complex in Berrien County, with this really crappy email. I have no idea of what cases he has, nor do I care. Nor have I ever contacted a judge to try to get any case influenced. So the fact that he would have this superfluous hyperbole of nonsense and mumbo jumbo as if he's talking to an idiot is utterly disrespectful. That's why I have no respect for Sterling Schrock. That's garbage. So he goes on to say, and again, God complex. Before a meeting can be scheduled, we need to know who is participating, and the subject and purpose of the meeting does not violate the principles set above. Again, I have to meet, but if I brought over 20 people, you best believe they would have all have been linked to this issue to make sure, again, logistically, that you are able to handle the backbone of cases of charge and file classes that you might not have dealt with before. Had nothing to do with trying to influence the case. And I take that as an assault on my integrity, that I would stoop to the level to try to influence a case. I would use my ability and my position and my authority to try to influence a dumping case that is a 90-day misdemeanor, that is a fine at best. Again, utterly disrespectful. God complex. Now, we're up here, you're a peon, and we can say and do what we want. Problem is that for those who know McGinnis, it doesn't roll like that. I went to Michigan too. So I can also communicate, have half decent idea what's going on. Didn't go to law school, didn't go to med school, but I'm fairly intelligent. I've been fairly successful, and I can communicate. We can communicate. We can come to see eye to eye, and we can move on. If there's something, if we would have met that you would have laid down, I would have accepted that. But the fact that you were screening me out, again, I guarantee you, if Paul Bailey or Steve Newbeck or anybody else would ask for a meeting with the judges or chief judge, it'd have been granted like that. I asked for one. Oh, we got to know what it's for. You might try to influence the case. It's up to your attorney to make sure he's doing what he's doing. That's not the point of what I wanted to meet with you with. The point is, I wanted to show you and make sure that the police counter, because I tried to indicate to you the issues with the police counter, that they have the right codes. And if they didn't have these codes in the system, to give them time to do whatever they need to do as far as IT to get the codes entered. Now, I've experienced back in the day, early in my career, Judge Hammond, we had a loud music. Another issue in Ben Harbor's loud music. We wrote loud music tickets. Judge Hammond arbitrarily threw them out. Our ordinance says music can be heard 50 feet. He told us we needed to have a decibel meter, threw the case out. Subsequently to this exchange I've had here, Sterling Schrock threw out 3 of our cases, just threw them out. Dumping cases that I was trying to meet with him with. So, of course, here was my response back to Sterling Schrock. Then I called him Judge Schrock. And here's my response, because I was very ticked off. Actually, I thought about this high and low before I crafted my response. But here's my response. Judge Schrock, first, let me start by saying that it is my sincerest hope that the spirit in which you wrote this email is not actually meant to be as condescending and dismissive as it appears. However, in actuality, your email response epitomizes the very essence of why we desire to meet in the first place. Again, remember, I told you about the issues we have at the police counter, paperwork being met. Heaven forbid they get some paperwork for a charge they don't recognize. They gave us the blues. Again, logistically, I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. Law enforcement, police counter, judges, how everything works together. So also, let me say that I am purely flabbergasted that I, as a sitting chief, have to be subjected to the necessity of having to justify our reasoning for seeking audience with the court. The simple fact that we asked for a meeting with the chief judge should indicate that the issue we want to discuss are that significant to us and the citizens of Ben Harbor that we would seek to meet in the first place. We wanted to speak about dumping in the city in general and not regarding any specific case. I have no idea of your court docket, and I do not generally have personal involvement in any of the 8,000 police reports we take per year. The fact that you currently have a dumping case before you at this time I've requested a meeting is purely serendipitous. I have no inclination to influence any current proceeding in any way. I trust the system to work. Regarding successful adjudication, again, I'm quoting his quotes. The issue is more complex and is not strictly on our city attorney. There are many layers of the issue that require discussion and direction. I will conclude this. It has been my personal experience and opinion that Ben Harbor has been treated like second-class citizens by the court for many years. I have personally witnessed Judge Hammond summarily dismiss Ben Harbor cases because he simply did not, quote, want to be bothered. I heard him say that with them. I have personally suffered countless verbal attacks by Magistrate Dope, who at every turn denigrates Ben Harbor officers, our department, and our community. I have personally experienced poor treatment at the police counter by court personnel. Reports come to me even to this day by our officers the same behavior persists. All we ask is that we be treated fairly. This dumping issue in our city is extremely important to our community. This is why we desire to meet in order to make sure we in the court are aligned in the logistics and proper administration. We still desire to speak with Chief Judge or his designee and any other appropriate staff deemed necessary. We consider the magnitude of this issue. Please see below links to the photos of taking dumping piles throughout the city. I have great respect for burying judges. However, I think it is fair that there be a reciprocity of common professional courtesy with regards to Director McGinnis. So that was my response to, again, I made a request, meet with the Chief Judge. Chief Judge pawned me off to an underling, Sterling Schrock. Sterling Schrock sent me what I think he thought was going to be a very condescending message to me to screen me out, to make sure that I'm not, I guess, some Mantan Moreland or Rochester and Benny, Jack Benny. And I took offense to that. All you had to do was see what I wanted to talk about. It wouldn't have broke Judge Bruce's back to meet with me 5-10 minutes, half an hour. Would not have broke Sterling Schrock's back to hear what we had to say. All you had to do is get the court administrator, the chief judge together, prosecutor, our city attorney, make sure we're all on the same page. Logistically, everything's in a computer, and then we do what we do, and the chips fall where they may. But without having the backbone in place, it would be difficult. And of course, we proceeded without that. And actually, to this day, Gary Bruce he's no longer chief judge, did not meet with me, didn't even respond. I actually had to get a third-party citizen that had a relationship with him that kind of intervened. But that is the treatment that your chief, the director of public safety for the city of Benton Harbor, gets from the court, at least back in 2019. I've not spoken to the current chief judge, but quite frankly, I have very little faith in them. But, the thing is, like I said, you don't hear from me often. I don't have any occasion to speak to a judge or call a judge, hang out with a judge. So if I do, at least give me the common courtesy or respect to see what I want to speak to me. Didn't have no problem texting me, but now when I want something, I can't get to you. I think that's epitomizes the disrespect that we get in the city of Benton Harbor. I think it's disrespectful that, myself can't get an audience. I can call Steve Perangeli like this. I could probably even call, Judge Cotter Smith Pasula personally, but this was not a personal matter. This was a professional matter that, again, I was skirted away, and to this day have not received any communication follow-up or anything of the nature. So that's a problem. When we talk about systemic racism, discrimination, I think that this epitomizes the very issue that there is a problem in the system where somebody from a leader from the community is not even respected enough to have a sit-down meeting in person with the chief judges that are elevated to the status of God in some of their minds is absolutely appalling. It is absolutely appalling. I'm still open to discuss. We have issues that go on. And unfortunately, my officers have bore the brunt of my exchange. Again, you're not going to say, talk to me crazy. I'm going to let that go. Anybody knows McGinnis will tell you that. So if you want respect, give respect. Just because you wear a black robe don't mean a darn thing to me. If you want respect, give respect. I've seen countless times sitting in court where a person, it could be a lawyer. It doesn't even have to be the defendant. A lawyer, officer, defendant, berated by a judge. Just because you sit on a judge does not give you the permission to talk to somebody like a darn kid. That is not how life works. I guarantee you, if you are walking in Walmart, you're not going to be talking to people the way you do from your bench. Get out your God complex. And remember, you represent the people. You're supposed to be acting in our best interest. And when leaders from a community come to you with an issue that's of importance to them, at least give them the common courtesy to go through the motions to act like you're listening. That's all we ask. If you want change in Berrien County, if you want to stop having black folks in Benton Harbor cry about things that happen at Berrien County Courthouse, stop acting this way. Bottom line. So got me back worked up because that is very disrespectful to have to deal with that. There's other things I can go into. I won't right now. I'm actually over on this hour. Here's last comment. Just the thing, the respect goes a long way. The court system shows very little respect, and they fail to realize that is a poor example to our community. I don't think they care. I think they got blinders on. I'll take that back. They may care, but I think because of the God complex, they don't see it. Maybe if they listen to us, maybe they'll say, oh, hey, maybe we need to, I don't know, have a kind of gentler, I don't know. Anyway, that is today's chat with the chief. I'm sure that'll go over with a ton of bricks, but with some people, it is what it is. Thank you for being on here with us. Those that are on with us live, I thank you for your comments. Thank you for being patient with me, being the only person trying to man all of the controls. As you know, I ain't real dexterous when it comes to that. But we're here on every Monday, 9 a.m. Of course, it's going to our Facebook page, going to our YouTube page, so you can replay it. Please spread the link, share it, so people can hear this word, and we're going to do the best that we can to affect change in the city of Ben Harbor. Here at the Chat with the Chief, we talk about some issues. It's not warm and fuzzy. Sometimes some things just need to be said. If we're going to achieve social justice and equity in our community, something needs to be said, and some things need to be said from people in authority. It is what it is. Again, I won't be popular. I'm good with that. It doesn't matter to me. Just respect my city, and I'm good. So with that being said, we love you, Ben Harbor. You continue to be blessed, and we'll see you next week.